Chris.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Is you testing? Any? Is Prayu still there testing?
He just stepped out. Yeah, I came in and I saw him using like a USB-C cable plugged into the Nucleo, and I was like, that doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah, we need we need to change that. I guess like so one thing is, for some reason we were using RTOS 1 in the F4. We should be using RTOS 2. L5 doesn't even accept version 1 of RTOS, pre-RTOS. So we have to change that. So a bunch of things have to change. It's going to be an absolute conflict machine tomorrow when we try to put them both together.
Okay.
This guy's eating straight bread.
You're what?
You menace. This guy's eating straight white bread.
I don't have a kitchen.
Oh.
Or butter.
I can't turn on my camera, because if I turn on the camera, the WARG laptop will crash. So.
Man.
Yeah, unlucky, I guess. Also, I can't tell if OBS is crashing or not, because it says it's still streaming, but I can't.
Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy, do you want to see the sketchy shit I was doing yesterday?
I'm scared.
Okay, no, don't worry about it. Trust it. Trust me.
I'm
It
scared
works.
about this laptop issue. We really need the firmware laptop to just stop dying all the time. It's really...
Okay.
That would be good.
It's just really not having a good time right now.
Wait, okay, so Andy, so I have all these LCM messages, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, shit, where's the ground station disarm? Yeah, this one, like the ground station disarm, right? Which is cool, but you know how in the header we have a length value, which is a uint 16, but in LCM that doesn't exist. So I implemented it as an array of bytes. And so when you go to the freaking shit, where is it? Messages, here we go. When you go to like the header, it's actually just like 2 uint 8s that we need to combine to make a 16. So I was like, okay, so we'll just make a bunch of helper functions, but for every struct we need a different helper function, like a slightly, I mean it's the same one, but we need to have it. I guess you would use generics in this case. I don't really know how to do that. So I defined all of these functions in this file and then just left like, I don't know, tags wherever when I wanted to swap out the name. And then I wrote a script that just reads in the template and then generates these helper functions.
Man.
And it like kind of hard codes everything with the length that you need and the type and everything. And it handles the checksums and all that stuff. And it works, but I'm not sure if I was supposed to use generics in this case.
I don't even know, to be honest.
Adi, could you explain that whole thing? So what tool are you using? And
there's this tool called LCM, which you define messages.
What does that stand for?
Something communication. I don't know. I have the link somewhere. I'll get it for you. It's lightweight communications and marshalling. Okay. Basically, you define all these structs in their like stupid format that doesn't support uints, and then you run like LCM generate on every file that you have with the structs, and it'll generate a new header for every message. And it has like functions defined that are like hard coded for every data type for like converting this thing, the struct, into a like a byte stream in a big endian, right? And it's like all hard coded because they're generating it. So every HPP is like slightly different with the types in the struct. But it doesn't have support for uints. Is
this like more of like a ROS messaging structure? Because I know essentially like in ROS.
Sahil,
In ROS,
yeah.
you basically make a message file.
Yeah, Sahil pointed out it's like it's ROS, but it's all the good parts of ROS, but it'll actually run on the STM.
Okay, so how does that then integrate with our stuff?
So right now we're only using it for the ability to generate messages in Python and C++ because the ground side's going to need to be able to generate messages too.
Okay.
But I put in this meeting actually I put a thing in the discussion that we can use it to send messages in between threads, and it'll publish the message. It's like super stupid easy to use. It'll publish the message and notify everybody that's subscribed to this channel that there's a new message, and then everyone can independently read it and do whatever they want.
Does it take care of all that?
Apparently, I have not tested it, but
So it's
the
like
main
it's like a
purpose.
library that you kind of include, and it takes care of the whole, basically the ROS messaging system.
Yeah, you subscribe to a channel, and a channel is just a ROS topic basically, and then every time
Okay.
someone publishes to a channel, it'll notify
Okay, yeah,
everyone
but
that's subscribed. Yeah,
I mean, low key, like that's exactly what we need.
I mean the only issue is that we're already using message queues, so we could put this for like post MVP to move over to this, or we would probably have to investigate a little bit because
But this would be so
I've
much
not tested it.
easier. Like it would be so much easier to just do this.
Also, Addy,
That's
don't worry, I've designed it. I'm using mail queues right now, but I'm not using them as queues. It's just storing one message. So I want it to be as simple as just, you take out mail queue, you drop in LCM. It should be simple. There shouldn't need to be design.
I mean, yeah, we can decide. I think eventually ZP should use this. I don't know if it's necessary for MVP though, so we can decide that today.
It might not be necessary, but it'll make things so much easier. So like, why not just invest the time now and do it?
Yeah.
Unless we really don't have that time, but like.
Yeah.
That's interesting though.
Yeah. Currently, we're at a point of I just don't have the time because I'm SM and I have too much of a life outside of WARG. All right, so I guess I will get this meeting going because we've got a ping. All right, I'm gonna let them wait because this is the same thing that's been said multiple times. So let's get discussing. So to start this off, I want to go through in order of closest to now to furthest from now. So I want to start off with November 27th. I need to know that we're going to actually start the system manager thread. The system manager thread starts attitude manager and will start path manager and task manager and everything. So I should share my screen. There we go. So you can see this. So I've got these diagrams up here. So what I'm expecting is the zero pilot starts two different threads and then starts the scheduler, which is a blocking call. So it will start loss, which itself will start sensor fusion once that's a thing. And then it will also start the system manager. System manager will then start attitude manager, and for the MVP, it will also start path manager. This is kind of my thread architecture of who creates what threads. And I want to make sure that we have this starting point. We have at least somebody who knows about it and is going to change that main function to call these things and start them. So, first question, does this make sense? Do people have concerns about these thread architectures?
I think that looks about what we discussed before. That looks good.
I have a question, but why is loss separate from SF? Are we expecting more loss threads than just sensor fusion?
That's a Chris question more than me.
Sorry, wait. So sensor fusion will be is planned to be within loss. It's definitely not going to be ready by Sunday, by the way. We had to talk. Me and Annie talked with Mustafa on Thursday about it, and yeah, I don't think that's going to be ready for Sunday. But what we discussed was sensor fusion having to run its own thread. Loss is going to basically own that thread and create it and be within loss. So So yeah, loss could make more threads in the future, but I think one other thing we discussed about that is since now we're making threads specifically for sensor fusion and combining IMU GPS data, that loss is kind of not becoming, but looks like it's more of a zero pilot targeted interface. It's like it's gonna, as we add more of these threads, it might be harder to kind of make this generic to be used by any project. So the scope kind of gets limited a little bit, but I think that's okay. Like, yeah, but yes, sensor fusion will be within loss creating creating.
Okay, well, what does the loss thread do then that sensor fusion doesn't? Like, I don't understand the difference because I thought sensor fusion was the only
There
non.
is no, yeah. So there is no loss thread. Loss is more or less, yeah. Zero pilot doesn't have to start loss; it just uses loss. There is no loss thread.
Okay, because there's like FreeRTOS calling execute in loss in the MVP diagram. It
Yeah.
doesn't
So
work.
I don't know. I don't think
I will-
execute on loss would be correct.
Cool. I can fix that.
Yeah. Okay.
But creating / destroying task, maybe you could just change that to getting instance, because all you'll be doing is getting the singleton instance to all the loss interfaces. So that could make a little more sense.
Okay, so Zero Pilot's going to get the instance of loss, and then loss itself, when it's initialized, is going to create that sensor fusion task.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, yeah, it's a good point because you need to create this somehow. But maybe if there's like a loss initialize, maybe a part of loss initialize, something like that. I'll have to figure that out.
So like
But yeah, we need a way to start the sensor fusion thread.
Zero Pilot should initialize loss and then give that to System Manager, right?
Zero pilot should initialize loss and give it to system manager. How you? Well, yeah, technically that's correct. Really, there isn't much loss initialization. You just have to get the instance as a singleton. Any initialization happens the first time you get the instance.
You also need to add threads to your FreeRTOS, right? So like, would it be easier if we made it so that you have one initialization function for loss that gets called at this really start, and then it... I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. Because you don't want to change the number of threads that Zero Pilot has to create when it runs loss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in general, when you want to use the loss interface, you call like the get instance, and then you call whatever interface function you want to use. But yeah, if we have threads here, we need to initialize loss, which would be basically creating the thread, and then when you do OS kernel start, since you already created the thread, it should be good to go. So yeah, I think we'll have a way to expose the like initialization function.
Okay, epic.
Yeah, or sorry, that might not be exposed. Sorry, that might not be exposed to Zero Pilot, but the first time you get the instance, it might run initialization as part of the constructor or something.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Yeah, it looks good to me though. I guess. Do you have like a full image of the thread system?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Like past MVP, post MVP plans that include something like telemetry.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have telemetry on here. I'm not sure who starts telemetry, but I was meaning to bring that up under MVP.
Okay.
So add that here.
Okay.
Like telemetry manager, wouldn't that be?
Yes.
That should be
Why
system
not system manager? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Might as well just add that now.
If you're editing off of Confluence, by the way, we can't see it.
I am creating these new ones. You can see I'm updating these in real time, so
Oh, okay.
I will post it up. If you see these diagrams, they've changed.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, you're right. Whoa.
Wait. Sorry. Between loss and sensor fusion, it wouldn't be get instance. It would be start create/destroy or just create task.
Reggie.
So loss to it's start task. You said.
Yeah, create/destroy task because it would be creating the sensor fusion task.
Okay, so zero pilot gets the loss instance, and then loss creates the sensor fusion task, and then FreeRTOS executes it.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. So you know how like the first time you call get instance is like a static instance, and so a part of the constructor I feel like would be creating the sensor fusion thread, right? Because you can create a thread after you start the kernel, right? Or no?
When does the when does the
Is there-
loss constructor get called though? Because if you have a singleton thing, it could accidentally get called if the loss instance is killed, right?
If the loss instance is killed? What do you mean if the
Right, because
loss instance
if you
is
have
killed?
you have a singleton thing, right, and you put
Yeah.
your create new task in the constructor of that,
Uh-huh.
and then like you lose your loss instance, and then you create a new one.
Why would
Whatever
you ever
call
create
it.
a new loss instance if it's a singleton though?
I guess that's fair. And I guess if your loss instance dies, you're screwed anyway.
So how do these look?
You can use a desktop.
Yes.
You don't have to install it.
Beautiful.
It's too long.
Do we have any objections with the diagrams as they stand right now? So this is what we're going to go for the 27th, no sensor fusion. And this is the full minimum viable product.
Yeah, that looks good. And to be clear, Zero Pilot software in this case is basically just the main, like main.c. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, this looks really good.
Perfect. Okay. So then next we need to make sure somebody is actually writing this.
Yeah, like actually putting in all this stuff in the main.cpp.
Yes. I don't think anyone's actually working on that. And
That
I
is
think if
correct.
we kind of got to the site on Sunday and said go, and then absolutely nothing would happen, except we've got Blinky code in there.
Yeah. You, someone, I mean, wouldn't the best person be you to put that in there because you know how to start more or less system manager?
Yes, I can, kind of. Yeah, I I can add that to it, but I also don't know how to do the starting of loss. I know someone had mentioned there is code to like test loss off of main.
Yeah, so that was, I just made a thread to get the instance and just see if we're getting good PPM data. Like I can share my screen and show you quickly what I meant by that.
If you can add a link to that under here in this discussion, that would be great. Look to where that is.
I did not think you were showing up.
Well, I don't think much of a link will do
You can
much.
actually link
Like,
to specific lines in code.
damn, okay.
If you do like a
So,
hashtag capital L and then the number for the code in like a GitHub repo.
so
Or
let me link it quickly. Where is this link? Sorry. To the.
no worries. Another concern I have, I guess I should bring that up here, is we need to get some PRs merged. we need to have PRs and then also dependencies. So currently I've been writing the system manager without knowing where the other managers are, and I need to access some data types from the different ones. We need to get some of these PRs merged into main, and then actually fix all the dependencies so that the code finds itself.
Can you link this document in VC chat?
Sure. Let's see where I added it. There you go.
Thank you. I'm just gonna put the link of the main.c and what I guess what I meant by that. So you can look at that main.c file, but that's what I meant by like literally just getting the instance and testing lost link.
Okay. So yeah, for PRs and dependencies, this is a bit of a concern mostly for me because with my system manager, I have to do a lot of the interfacing with loss, including I need to interface with the loss actuators too. For when we're going into like disarm, I want to force everything to 0 and everything. So I'd like to get things merged ideally tonight because I know I am very busy after 1 tomorrow. So I want to get all my stuff done tomorrow morning if I can.
Okay, so can you quickly go through the outstanding PRs?
Yep. So that's what I'm adding. We've got loss. Link is the one that connects to RC, right?
RC receiver, yes.
Loss core. I don't know. I don't think we need loss core because we're not starting the sensor fusion.
Literally the only two here would be loss actuators. Also, oh yes, I remember what I was going to say. One thing you need to decide is, do you want to pass along these loss instances as a parameter to the threads, or do you just want attitude manager, path manager, telemetry manager just use them directly and get instance themselves?
So how I've been kind of assuming this would work, let me just find it in my code. I have defined a loss interface. So I was reading what somebody posted. Here, I'll share my screen. Somebody said that I would call a loss interface.init, which I do not know what this loss init data is. And then I would have this loss interface object. When I needed to get RC channels or data from it, I would call loss interface.losslink.getRx.
Yeah. So that let's see. We can either have that built in where you would just get the entirety of loss interface, or you can make that loss interface mega class yourself, and its member variables will just be all the interfaces. Right now, it's kind of not like that. It's mainly just losslink.getRx, or yeah. So does that mean it's been passed in at this point then?
Does that mean that it's been which?
So the system, yeah. So
this code is based off of an old message that somebody pinged me on, and they said, "Hey, this is what it's gonna look like when you're calling loss." Yeah, this is probably very outdated, and you probably know much more recent stuff than this, so this will need to be updated.
Yeah. So I guess let me give you currently, if you look at the link I sent in the main.cpp, like that'll just show you what I mean.
There's so many of these things I just won't need for a while. But okay. So yeah, I had this loss and loss interface object. I'll just kind of look at that main.cpp function and try and mock that.
Well,
No,
okay, yeah. So I guess one thing right now though, there isn't a mega loss class, like a loss class that encapsulate all the interfaces in one. Right now they're all separate, and the only way to get them is literally by doing loss link : get instance. So yeah, if you click that, and go to the bottom. That right there, loss link get instance, like that is what you could do. And what I was saying is you can either you can pass an instance along to the actual managers, or you can get them all to just do that instead.
Okay.
So right here, yeah. So it might so in the end, it might be better, right, if we just have like actually include loss. You get the entire like just loss instance, and that loss instance then contains all the other instances.
Okay.
Would that be?
I'm going to say two things here. One, eventually, this should be a singleton. I don't want multiple things accessing this at the same time. But two, for now, this is fine because the link calls only come from System Manager right now, just for the November 27th one, and the actuators calls will never come from two different places at the same time.
Okay.
We kill the Attitude Manager thread before System Manager will write any calls to loss actuators. So for now, to get something on the 27th, I'm going to go for this method here, but I think eventually a singleton is the answer.
This is a singleton, no? Like loss link is a singleton. Loss
Yeah,
actuator is a
right,
singleton.
it is.
They're all singletons. What I was saying is like in the future we could encapsulate all these like classes into one class, and all you would do is #include loss, and you get one loss instance, loss interface instance, and then you could do what you have in there right now. But right now they're all separate. Like, does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
How would you protect against multiple threads calling the same loss interface?
It was decided that loss would contain like critical section protection. So like a mutex, like a FreeRTOS mutex, built in. I'm thinking how this whole big loss instance thing would work. I think it.
Can you not just make a loss class that is also a singleton that just has an instance of every other loss interface?
Yeah, like in the constructor, I just call get instance and then basically save the instance.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you just have a function for getting each instance.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah, that definitely can be arranged. I think that makes more sense too. Yeah. It would be the exact same thing for actuators in this case. It would be like loss underscore actuators dot get instance dot set. Should be at least. Also, in terms of having it working, I can give you the status of both of them right now. So lost actuators, Guy said he was able to get something working on his G4. And are you still there or no?
Yeah, he's installing some stuff on the CV desktop because his laptop doesn't have a USB port.
Okay, so if that's the case, he's going to be verifying actuators tonight. I'm not sure. Ideally, if it worked on his G4, then it shouldn't have too much problem. If that's the case and he's able to get that done tonight, I don't know if Kenson has been in the bay today. Yeah. Have you seen him around or no?
I have not seen him around.
Okay, and last time he messaged, I don't think he was able to flash the boards. So
that would be for lost link?
Yeah, that'd be for lost link.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Attitude manager. I don't see Jack, but I do see Aiden, but he is deafened. So I'm not sure if
Let me ping him.
know.
You can
He's
hear
in
me,
person.
right? Hello?
Oh.
Oh, you are? Oh, great. Okay. So, do we know what the state of attitude manager is?
I kind of handed it off to Jack as his thing. I am looking at the commit history right now.
All right.
How's it looking?
It looks like main was merged in fairly recently.
So he merged fixed-wing controls back into the new architecture branch. He said he cleaned it up, which I don't really know if that's happened, and it should be in a mergeable state according to him.
Is he doing squashes when he merges? Because dang, that is a massive squash.
I did that.
Dang.
Okay.
I'll look it over right now and see what it looks like.
Okay. One question. Did you get this lost link get instance the actuators version?
I didn't. Jack. Let me look right now.
Okay.
There's a loss actuators outputs.set. But I think that is potentially incorrect.
Okay. So I'm going to. So is this the no? So we'll need to do a submodule update to. I'll do this.
So the program crashed on the L5 from prior to use, Chris. Wow, I did not understand that at all. Chris, Pradyush says that he managed to get the program to flash on the L5.
Okay. So actuators.
Can they hear us?
I think so.
Chris is muted.
Chris is just muted.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay. He's probably typing.
Oh shit! Sorry, I was speaking that whole time. Yeah, if you're able to get it to flash, that's good. I'm not sure what Guy put in the main file because let me actually look right now. Okay, so can you hear me?
Yep.
I can.
Okay, so if you look in the zero pilot 3 main.cpp, there's a lost actuators test thread that he created, which basically sets motor 0 to 50%, 100%, then 0%, adding a delay of two seconds in between each. So, I mean, assuming all goes well, if you hook up that oscilloscope, you should see that. All probably won't go well, so you might have to do some debugging.
So which branch? Where is this?
I'm talking to Prayush.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. I was talking to Prayush on how to, what guy is set up.
so for loss, do we know what branch is the third?
The most updated?
Yeah, 2 hours ago. Okay. So loss actuators.
So right now, actuators and link are probably the most active, and what we need to do is merge those both into main in terms of laminar OS.
So loss actuators is under loss interface. Okay. Interesting file directories, but found it. Okay.
Why?
So loss. Well, we were under loss interface source loss actuators. Great. But I think we've also got like loss driver and loss core here, but I don't know. I might be confused.
Yes.
It's fine.
So lost core would be where all lost core is basically empty. Lost drivers are where the drivers are. So PPM driver, a DShot driver, PWM driver. Lost interface is where the interfaces live.
Okay. Cool. Uh,
So in this case for actuators, the only useful function here is set, right?
Yeah.
So tomorrow, I know you said you want to do it in the morning, but unless both Kenson and Prayush test, I guess by tonight, tomorrow is when I would merge those two into main. And there's gonna be a lot of conflict, so I just need to figure those out.
Cool. And do we know the number of actuator channels in this stuff?
Okay, so if you go to if you go into the back into the repo,
Yep.
and you go to interface, yep, config.hpp. So this is where ideally someone from the so-called zero pilot team would go in and configure everything. Ignore.
Yep. Cool.
So yeah, go down, ignore all that. Okay, it might be in the source.
There wasn't
Oh, there's no source. Because the drivers are globally initialized essentially in the config.
this driver. Motor channel?
Yeah, so that's the actuators. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for. We'll put this at the end. I will hunt this down. We don't need everyone for this.
Okay.
Figuring out channels. Anyway. So that's that. Pairs and dependencies. Ideally, we can get them in tonight or early tomorrow, as early as possible.
Yeah, it really, I guess, depends on testing. Unless, like, let's just say Prayush and Kenton don't finish testing by tonight, which is, I guess, a pretty big possibility. I could just merge anyways.
Yeah, we might have to, because unfortunately,
Okay. Just so you get
SM
access to these things, right?
yes, that's
Okay,
important
I
to
got
the
you.
system because I need to figure out how to include everything I need.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Then I think that can definitely be arranged for tomorrow morning. Then.
Cool. I'll just module update. So going back to this, let's look. Zero pilot, that'll be me in this case. This get instance of loss. What will zero pilot do with that?
Okay. So there's two things you can do. Actually, technically, first of all,
Would this be create instance?
no, you only get the instance. So you know how I was showing you in main.cpp, it's like losslink.get instance or losslink get instance. Yeah, so losslink.get instance. That's the only thing you have to do to get access to these things. So what you could do is you could save that in a I don't know, some variable and then pass that along to your threads, or you can just get the threads to just use them more or less like raw like that.
I'd like to point out that passing a singleton instance to another thread sounds against the point of singletons.
True, but that's what I'm pretty sure how all the drivers work in the last zero pilot.
Yeah, but I mean, that's fair. But if they're singletons,
You
then
have a chance
why
to do
is there...
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that case, then yeah, the law system manager should include only what it needs. Then in that case, it would be what loss actuators
And link, yeah.
and link, and then you don't have to pass those along. You can just include them again in
Attitude, yep.
yeah, in the other ones, and they could just use exactly like how it is on line 47.
Yep. Cool. Okay, so that makes sense. So I guess zero pilot doesn't really need to. Yeah, I guess everything can just kind of grab lost as it needs, which is I think fine, especially for this. Cool. What other concerns do we have for the 27th? This is what I meant to put there for the AM. Okay, so Aiden, did you get a chance to check if, actually I guess I can look. In this attitude manager, doesn't exist there. In this attitude manager port, no, in the attitude manager JG branch, this one, do you know if we are using the output,
The what?
this function, this loss actuators get instance set?
No, but I can do that very easily. But I will note the loss actuators for, or the loss version for this, or that is pointed to in this branch does not have that.
Yep.
The only functions in that are the constructor for loss actuators and set. So is that,
That is what we're doing. Yes.
so loss actuators is not yet merged? That's a tonight thing? That's what we were talking about?
Loss actuators is currently on its own branch. That's correct. It's not in main.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there is something in main. It's just not right.
So right now I'm trying to debug build issues for Attitude Manager. Looks like something has happened with the loss build system changing slightly, and not being updated in Zero Pilot. At least that's my hunch at the moment.
Yeah, that's probably true. Did you? It depends what loss. It depends what loss branch you're running on.
Main.
The most recent main.
Yep.
Okay, then yeah, that it needs to be updated, and I can show you how to update it.
Should I just pull in Zero Pilot's main?
Okay, the main thing that changed in loss is the .cmake file name changed and their location changed.
Yep.
So you would have to change that in zero palette.
Yeah, so that toolchain file path that I was looking at, it just needs to be laminar.os/board/platform/platform.cmake.
Yeah, if you look in the zero palette, if you look in Laminar OS, how its CMake file and also its build script, it's very similar.
Like this.
Yeah, so if you click in there, click on one of those files. Already, yeah.
We can switch. We can switch to the use of loss actuators, the get instance or whatever method, fairly easily. That shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, perfect. Should be this call. Okay. So I'm going to, because Jack isn't here, I'm going to just do a little. Add Jack. Jack preload. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that gives us everything for the 27th. We can start talking about architecture for the future. So I want to postpone this one because it's long and annoying. Let's just shove that to the end. So clarification on what MVP looks like. Do you know who wrote this, and what do you want to know?
No, I think that's cleared up now.
Cleared up? All right.
Then can you explain it then, please? Because it is not
Oh.
cleared up for me. Or just like leave a note in there after the meeting or something.
Okay. In general, this is the design for threads. This is the design for communication.
And do we have a due date?
Yeah. No.
3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Have about 4 hours.
Do we have a new
Man.
due date?
Do you want to see some of the stuff? If you look through my code for some of these things, like so many lines are commented out because things are just not ready, and I plan for MVP.
Okay, wait.
It's
So
bad.
is it just me blocking MVP? Like what all are the blockers for MVP right now?
Okay.
Because telemetry is not merged in at all.
Telemetry is one big one. Sense diffusion is another big one. Path manager is another big one. Those three are kind of the top ones. If you notice from here to here, we don't have an SF thread in the soon one. We don't have telemetry. We don't have path in here. So we just directly go from system to AM, which meant I had to do some cool and sketchy math, converting channel values into a waypoint in vector space. So that's fun. Don't expect good handling from my math.
Wait, shouldn't it just be passed in as like stick inputs, basically?
Yeah. It should be passing basically.
I don't think Attitude Manager can handle that.
It can.
It can?
Like,
Oh no.
So sorry, it's not exactly stick inputs, but it's like X can be the forward, or like X and Y can be the right joystick. What is it? Heading and Z can be the left joystick. And we can work with that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
This is what I'm doing.
To like be agnostic to the data formats being put in, right? Because it's super easy to just say, like at that point you could just say, like, well, passing a different struct is just tell it we're passing in controller values, do this, which might be okay for the 27th.
I think that is okay. Like to even have to even run the code basically. Yeah. Don't even worry trying to run a control algorithm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was based on all this off the assumption that everything has to be in this attitude manager inputs struct. So I converted channels into this struct. That's what this function does.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
that might be fine.
Because this might be needed based on the later part of the discussion today anyway, so it might be good to check that this works somewhat. But we'll get there. Okay. Okay. So beyond that, this MVP communications systems is slightly up for might change based on what we decide. Currently, I have it where the system manager sends everything through path manager, and then that goes to attitude manager. And there have been ongoing discussions about how the data should get to attitude manager, how to reduce latency, and for manual controls, how to not have to go through path manager. So that's the big scary one.
Okay, yeah, but we can discuss that. I think you moved that point to the end of the discussion, so we could discuss
I
the
did.
inter-thread comms when that comes up.
Yes.
Yes. Because I have questions and.
So if you have questions, please go ahead.
No, I'll just save it for that discussion. We have stuff in the middle,
Okay,
right?
Sure, yes. So, clarification on what MVP looks like. Generally, how I define this, and I will write this here. Managers running, data flowing as discussed. That's generally it. I want to have all of the different managers as defined in this MVP thread structure. I want all of these running, including sensor fusion, telemetry, and path. And I want flight in general.
Okay, I'm going to be kind of mean here and say, what is the deadline going to be for this?
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
For MVP?
Yeah.
I thought it was end of term.
Is end of term still reasonable?
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Okay, so, end of term was the optimistic deadline. The actual deadline that we cannot miss is going to be mid-January. Because if we don't have MVP by then, we're probably not flying Zero Pilot software at competition. Is that sort of reasonable enough to hit?
So maybe we should go through what minimum viable product looks like for each component then. For example, loss, for example, sensor fusion, or like path manager, attitude manager.
So I think that we should stick to this end of term for minimum viable product. And I think that means we postpone everything else, like changing the mail queues, anything that blocks, anything that we don't need to do to get all managers running has to go into post MVP. Okay? Okay. I know I probably will have less time to throw at all of this once class term starts up again. And I want something for end of term.
Okay.
I want to see the managers running. I want to see the threads running.
Fair. Can we go through still what that is for each someone?
Yes, I want to do that. I'm just checking up on the messages. So system by system breakdown. Each system I'm calling based on the like boxes in here.
Yep. Yep.
So we have ZP, we have loss, we have SF, we have SM, we have AM, PM, TM.
And every person here owns one of these things, right?
Or one and a bit of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go through owners first.
I think this one should be shared.
Yeah, more or less. This one isn't like this is like when everything's done. It should be as simple as just calling a couple functions. Like it should be trivial.
Yes.
Same as last
So
one.
this one starts SM, and then what does it have to do for loss?
Technically nothing, right? You're saying all the managers itself should just include loss and just call them, unless you want to do the whole big mega loss instance.
Then what's going to start sensor fusion? When will sensor fusion start?
Right.
All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna let you figure that out.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Loss. What does loss need to do? Loss has to have loss.
Lost link, lost actuators, and lost position.
Lost telemetry.
And telemetry? Okay.
Yeah, we don't. Comm is not necessarily telemetry. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So actuators. I think that one's pretty
Motor
simple.
control. Yeah, lost link is PPM.
Do we need RSI?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Perfect. Just
Position
if
would
we
be. Sorry, go ahead.
if we don't need it to make things run, it isn't in MVP. So I think that's
Okay.
good.
So in this case, then position would be either vector nav then or sensor fusion GPS IMU. Right? One or the other. Telemetry would be RFD 900.
RFD
900, yeah.
For lost position, for MVP, vector nav itself is just fine.
Okay. So yeah, or either or, whatever finishes first.
Yeah.
Yep. Or it's good for me. Sensor fusion.
That's a part of lost position.
C lost position.
Right. System manager starts AM, PM, TM. Terms drone state. So that's, food, disarm, ground ops, flight, fail. It's also going to have to anything else people can think of? will take that as good. Attitude manager. So I'm going to say happy as in not fatal failure. Path manager.
I'm sorry. You want to be able to do RG pilot pass through on SM for MVP.
That will need some work. So I'm not sure how.
Pass you to the motors directly. Yeah. Do you want me to explain that more or no?
Not now. Later, yes. For path manager, so it's based on telemetry / CV input. What else, Neha?
I think one thing to add is that, or one thing to note is that how it's sending stuff to AM is going to depend on our future conversation about how data flows from SM to PM to AM.
Yep, I'm trying to keep these unspecific.
But yeah, other than that, I think that covers it.
Cool. Telemetry manager.
Interfacing with the loss telem, and then with SM as well.
So just to clear something up, Neha, you said you do not currently know the communication between AM and PM, right?
Just I know how it's going to work for autopilot, but for teleop, that's still in the air.
Okay. So ideally, I guess, speaking for the future, we want everything to run on the LCM thing that Audie's working on, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that doesn't change this though.
Yeah, so that would give us the whole nice publish to subscribing method, but
yes,
that's not technically required for the MVP, so we're sticking with mail queues for now?
Yeah, I think for MVP we can stick to mail queues. LCM should be a small change, and it won't actually change any of these designs. What Neha was more talking about was see this RC. Currently, how is architected for the MVP is that system manager would pass RC straight through path manager, which would immediately pass it to attitude. which has problems, but there are other problems going other ways. So that's a later discussion.
Okay.
In any case, all of these lines would be mail queues, except for I think motor control. But that would be easy to switch over to the LCM when we are ready. It should just be like drop straight in.
Yeah, so we can go back down to the comms. What is MVP comms for attitude manager between actuators just the loss actuator or the loss actuators call?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So one other thing that I want is from attitude manager, I want some sort of response output to get sent to TM to ground. I want attitude manager to in some way communicate through system manager to ground. Yeah. That's, I think, what one of our big sources of telemetry data to go back is. Even if it's just the direct motor throttle percents that we're sending to loss actuators, that should go back to telemetry to the ground. I think that's everything for kind of defining what the MVP is.
Do we need Jetson comms for MVP?
I assume that to be included in
We
CV.
do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but
So
but in the TM section it doesn't say anything about Jetson. Also,
Yeah.
are the CV people then going to be made aware of this MVP? Because obviously the Jetson has to be ready as well.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I ideally would say our code will be ready to receive what they send, but I don't want us to be blocked by them.
You talk about CV communication, right?
Yes.
Okay. So technically, communication between CV and Zero Pilot is done through lost comms.
Wait, it's a
Which
different interface?
I might not be understanding the question then. What were you talking about?
Like the Jetson's comms, are they done through Lost Telem? Or is it not Lost Telem?
Lost Telem would be through RFT 900, so that would be information when sent to the ground station.
Okay, so then there's a separate lost interface for the UART comms with Jetson.
Technically, that would be air to air or air communication, so that would be through lost comms.
Okay, and Lost Telem only uses RFD, or can it use multiple drivers?
I guess it can use multiple if you make it use multiple.
Okay, cool.
Are you talking about XPs?
Yeah, because I can't really do any development with RFDs because I don't have any.
Okay. So that remember that what's it called? Message formatting Confluence page, the one that defines all the message formats. You know that
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
That has everything for both telemetry and comms then.
Yes.
Okay.
But Lost doesn't need to worry about that.
Lost doesn't need to worry about that?
Well, we were actually just talking about this during this meeting in the telemetry manager channel. I mean, we can have a discussion, but I was under the assumption that Lost has no logic in it. It just sends data through the driver.
Like a pass through?
Yeah, yeah. So I would just give it like an array of bytes, and it sends it where I tell it to go. And then
True.
telemetry manager can handle all the decoding and encoding and message formatting and all that crap.
I got you.
Because
Okay.
if that's not the case, then we've duplicated our work.
Yeah,
Because
that should
yeah.
be, for loss telemetry, for example, if we're using RFC 900s, which you can just pass it like raw bytes and it should pass down, then like I see the interface just being bytes and size.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So
Sounds
then comms, on the other hand, would
It's just
be a
UART.
little bit of a different story, though, right?
It's just UART, right? Because that's what the Jetson and the ZP communicate with. It's just UART, so it should also just
Okay,
be.
so same type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that approach makes sense for both of them.
Yeah. Okay. Bytes and size.
Right.
Just
So
the
does this
different
make sense?
drivers. Does not block MVP if CV is not ready. That's true, because you would just be sending it, and what CV does with that data is, well, if you're sending the commands more or less, like requesting data, then technically we will block the MVP because you're not receiving any data back, right?
Yeah. So that was my original question. If Jetson's not ready, then what are we just doing? Like just teleop? Well, what's our plan with that?
I guess it would have to be if like we could be ready in the sense that we're sending commands over when we should be, but if they're not sending anything back, then we can't do anything about that. So
So then the question has to be asked: is autopilot, if Jetson, like if we don't know Jetson's plan and schedule, how do we prioritize zero pilot stuff? Like, do we prioritize teleop over autopilot? Because like we need the Jetson for autopilot, right? Like that's one of the requirements.
right, yes,
So then logically we should prioritize teleop and then maybe push the teleop like deadline earlier, or not earlier. We push autopilot deadlines farther back depending on Jetson's schedule. Or or we could just get everything ready and then the Jetson will just hold us back and we would only work on
That's what I was
teleop.
thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
trying to say is that I want to have all of this code ready, and then if CV's not ready, we just fly teleop, and then we can test that CV stuff as soon as we have a Jetson that will run it.
Yeah.
But we should reach out to CV pretty early and make sure our like timelines will agree, and then maybe give them a buffer week because timelines don't happen.
Yeah. So if it has to do with lost comms, I can reach out because I'm gonna be working on lost comms now. JJ, who was originally working on it, has been super busy, so hasn't been working on a lot of WARG. So I took over his task.
Okay. Yeah, we should get on the same page with CV because I remember Ryan saying that he's like overhauling all of the airside comms on the Jetson side or something, and I don't know what that means. So, yeah, we should reach out to them.
If I do my job correctly, it means that nothing changes for you. But yeah, I'll reach out to him and make sure.
If you want, you can set up another meeting. Say like what their timeline's like. Shouldn't Mika and Aiden be involved with that?
Yeah. It would be Amy and Aiden at this point.
I
Okay.
sent him all of the LCM messages and stuff that are needed for communicating with telemetry, so hopefully it goes smoothly for him.
All right. Hey, Tim.
But I think the one that Ryan sends matches up with what we have in mind.
Sorry, we need to make sure that what Ryan has is like the same what we have in mind.
What he has sent in computer vision matches and correlates with what we have internally for Zero Pilot, so we're good.
Okay.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
Cool.
So should we go over viability of sorry for cutting you off. Should we go over viability of reaching these minimum viable products for each component?
I'm gonna say we put them in. If you have a task, I'm gonna ask you to highlight your task thing in like a. No, that's not great. I feel like we need a document to keep track of this. So we should copy this in and have a minimum viable product document where we have different status tags. and we just kind of say, so we have like a little status, and you say green,
Like a percentage or something. I don't know.
yellow would be like, I don't know, low risk, red would be like high risk or not being done or something like that. I feel like we need like a table of each of these tasks based on what we've written here.
Yeah. The thing is, so it looks like almost everybody here, except for Annie and Tony, are on work terms. So like exams more or less aren't an affecting factor.
Yep.
So we'd be able to work through that. So technically we have what, like about a month?
Yes and no, yeah. I do know that like people have to travel back. People have
Nobody wants to work basically past the
run
23rd,
holidays.
22nd. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Understandable.
So, I'm going to ask if anyone is willing to sort of take these tasks, put them into a table, and, or I guess I can do this in the background, but just
I
make
can do it. I can do it.
of these. Yeah. So then just kind of one row for each of these different ones, and then add each of these and a column for who's working on it. It can be multiple people, and then kind of a status and just like in progress or like low risk, high risk done,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I can make that. I'll make it by tomorrow.
Perfect. So, table for MVP task state.
These architecture meetings, we're planning to have them weekly, right?
What?
I don't know.
For Fridays, baby.
Wait, no, yeah,
No.
wait, I thought it was
Firmware
because they're
Saturday
called
morning.
firmware
No.
Fridays, so I thought it was like a every Friday thing.
No, it's not supposed to
We can
be.
make it one.
Something comes up every Friday anyways, like we might as well make it weekly at this point. We
Because
might as well just
like,
our-
let's be real. This was a really helpful meeting.
We can have one scheduled, and then
We're
like
not
3 days
even halfway
before,
through,
decide if we can
You're
schedule
acting
or
as
not.
if it's over.
Chris, we're not done the meeting yet.
Oh shit, we're not done the meeting yet? My bad.
We're like a
You're not.
third of the way through.
Apologies to the chef.
Sorry. I know I barely have time to put stuff like this, put time aside to do these, which makes it kind of hard.
That's fair.
So for now, let's just keep powering through this. So concerns about combining all the structs into a single message. What
Yes,
does which
yes.
instance?
I will explain. They're not really concerns, they're more like questions and potentially concerns. I was looking over like the PMPR and some of the SM code, and it seems like there's one message queue for communicating between two different nodes, right? Like SM to PM and SM to AM and all that stuff, right? And then there is a single struct that combines a bunch of different smaller structs in it that you send through. My question is, are you batching the different messages, combining them, and then sending them over once? Or is it that every time you get something and you need to send it, you just put it into that struct and send multiple? How does that work?
Okay.
I don't know if what I said
currently-
makes any sense, but
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Currently, this has not been done. That
Yeah,
is
'cause-
all code that's beyond the 27th. So,
inter-thread comms is
Currently-
the only thing left for TM, and then the loss interface stuff. But so I need to know what to do.
So, nice thing about having bigger messages is that you have a single snapshot of time to act upon. You also don't have to have different message types, which makes it easier to parse on the receiving side. On the other hand, that does mean you only get a snapshot in time, so one of the two sources of data is going to be slightly more outdated. But if we're running these controllers fast enough, that won't be an issue.
Okay.
So, kind of pros.
Okay. So I need to implement some kind of batching on my end, so that I don't spam your message queues with data?
How I was going to have it, and I think somebody told me to do this, was I was going to have this big. I was going to have. I was going to collect all these different sources of data, and then I just going to have a bulk message from that I receive from telemetry that just has everything in it, and then a system manager would parse that, decide what needs to go where. Just means one chunky
Okay.
defined packet.
Right. But that means that somewhere we're gonna have to implement some kind of batching. Because if we, for example, like if I get like 3 different messages from like the lost telem thing, um, or if I get them like one at a time, I'm gonna have to batch them, right? To then send them all at once. Because otherwise, if I just send the data through message queues as I receive them, it's just gonna fill up your message queue, right?
Mhm. Could
Um,
we also just have multiple? Hmm.
and this is
Because
still up in the air because I still have to decide with like lost telem how, because the lost telem driver has like logic in it, so we still have to decide how that will work. But you just tell me what you want and I'll do it. I figure after MVP, I want to shift to LCM anyway.
so what I want is I do not want multiple things in the queues at the same time, if that makes sense. I want to have one most recent thing in the queue, and I want it to be read, and then I want the next thing.
Okay, but there's
Which,
yeah, but what if like I don't know. I guess it would depend on how frequent TM runs versus how frequent SM runs.
Yeah, I was
Um,
I was naively hoping that they would all run at the same frequency.
okay. Okay, if they run at the same
That,
frequency, then I can collect all the data that loss has, and then we'll have to implement like a message queue or some kind of buffer there, and then combine it all into the one struct, and then send it over, and then hopefully there shouldn't be any like mismatch data or like overwriting or anything like that. But this is I don't know if this is important for this meeting. Um,
this probably deserves a follow up. Because I'm thinking about it. I don't know how you are going to get the messages from CV. I don't know if you're going to get a batch of like 5 different things to do, and then you have to hand them off to SM one at a time, or do you just hand all of them at the same time? I think
yeah,
that might depend on how you get things. So I
yeah.
think we
So
might want to have a discussion.
we still have to discuss with loss how that works. Because I thought I would just run TM as fast as it can and collect data as fast as I can, and then just send it to SM as fast as I get it. But I now realize that's just going to fill up our message queues, and it's just going to be confusing with data, especially if you guys are batching it and sending it like, one every, like at a certain frequency, you're sending data all together. So I can, after loss decides how the data should be passed to TM, I can just try and implement the batching thing the same way you are.
Cool. Sounds good. Next up, who starts TM? That is SM. Easy. So loss overview. This was one. Do you want one big loss instance that holds all the loss core, loss link, and loss actuators? I think that was agreed upon that yes, we would want that.
Yes. Okay.
We agreed on that. And then we were going to have critical segment protection built in so that we wouldn't run into issues.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the big chunky one, or do we want to move on to post MVP stuff first?
Should we really pass this stuff to PM?
Okay.
No. Wait, are you talking about the loss instance? Oh wait, no, sorry. This is completely different. My bad.
This is a different thing.
Yeah.
I will give you the
My bad.
background. So, this is talking about communication here. So, in how I designed this system, we would pass all data that goes to Attitude Manager through Path Manager if it is flight control related. We do have this PID retune message, but that only happens in the disarmed state, not when we're close to flying. So the question is, should these RC commands, when we are manually controlling, like teleop, should they be going through Path Manager, or should we send them directly through System Manager?
What was the thinking about sending them through Path Manager?
Sure. So that was my idea. I was thinking about a few different cases. So under normal operation in non-teleop mode, Path Manager takes in data and it generates waypoints one at a time to be sent to Attitude Manager.
Right.
Now, Attitude Manager will then read those and act on them to the motors, and that's fine. This is one stream of data going into Attitude Manager. Now, if we were doing remote control, we have kind of two options. We could either have the System Manager convert things into waypoints, pass them into Path Manager with a waypoint type of like teleop. Path Manager just says, okay, and then just clears the queue of messages it was going to send to Attitude Manager and instead sends those RC teleop messages, the waypoints, which have already been converted, directly to Attitude Manager. So that way Attitude or Path Manager knows to stop sending other messages, and there's only one source of messages going into Attitude Manager.
I see.
The other way is we have two sources going into Attitude Manager. One of them is Path Manager, the other is System Manager. System Manager would then directly pass the remote control teleop waypoints into Attitude Manager and bypass Path Manager. That means that Path Manager, if it fails, we can still go to teleop mode, which is great and I like. Unfortunately, this means that we have two sources of controls going into Attitude Manager. And if Path Manager is spitting out waypoints one at a time, then when we switch to teleop mode, Path Manager can still feed more inputs into Attitude Manager, and the pilot can have to fight Path Manager for a while as it is still sending controls to Attitude Manager. So
I see.
that's the long form.
Can I ask a question? Unless you have to keep going. Why can't we have some kind of like global flag that says teleop or auto, and then Attitude Manager reads it and System Manager writes it, and then you can like flip a switch in your controller, then System Manager will read that, change the flag. Path Manager will see the flag change and say, okay, it'll clear my queue or whatever. Attitude Manager will see the flag change and prioritize System Manager. Not even prioritize, just ignore Path Manager entirely.
Yep.
And then you no longer have the two sources of data.
So then, yes, I like that. That's currently my top pick. So that introduces the issue of that flag, and you have to get into some mutexing, which is not too bad if you only have one writing source and multiple reading sources, but you need to, I guess you could pass the address of that flag into, if you pass the address of that flag into both Path and Attitude Manager, then you have a read mutex and a write mutex, I guess.
I don't even think you need to. I think
So then, if the System Manager is trying to write to it, it would grab both the read mutex and the write mutex, and if the Attitude or Path Manager need it, then they'll just grab the write mutex. Oh.
Well, Attitude Manager and PM would never write to the flag, right? They can't control when it's autopilot and time. So we only need a read mutex, right?
Well, if we want to have both Attitude Manager and Path Manager being able to read at the same time, which is fine, then we could. But either way, that's deep into implementation. It's doable. I can just dig up my course notes. Yes. So I like that.
Okay. Sorry.
I think that's also how the old. Sorry, I think that's also how the old Path Manager did it. It was literally like a flag. It's teleop.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
You're going to get into something.
I'm trying to think through edge cases.
Alternatively, you could, if you already have a queue going into Attitude Manager and Path Manager, you could just send them both a message saying we're now in teleop or we're now in autopilot.
Yeah.
And
So
then you
the
wouldn't even
issue
need the
with that
flag.
is currently we want to keep Path Manager and Attitude Manager as modular as possible. We want as few different forms of data going into them as we can.
Makes sense.
So Attitude Manager should only have one format of data going in, ever. I thought, at least. Or I think we should be able to do that.
But you're already sending it data like PID retune and all that stuff, right? So you may as well just
Yes.
right, because there's a queue for like important data, and then there's also like a queue for like configuration stuff. I'm assuming, maybe.
Yes. So how I was going to have it is I was just going to have one queue from System Manager to Attitude Manager that was just for PIDs, and you shut that queue entirely down when you go into like ground ops and then flight, so that everything comes from path. But in this case, you could do it so that you have, I guess, one queue that just goes to Attitude, and then both Path Manager and System Manager write to it. So then you'd need another way to determine from a Attitude Manager standpoint which source the message came from, if it's system or path.
There
Or
is
if it's like
there is
RC
another
or-
option. Like we can. This is kind of sketch. We can agree that the MVP is okay with this major, or not major, but this known bug or flaw, and then agree to if I don't know if we're all agreed on rewriting this, but I think we should rewrite it at some point. We can agree that after MVP we just fix it then, and then we decide: do we stick with message queues? Do we move to LCM? What do we do? And we fix this flaw in that discussion after the MVP, and we just agree that it's okay that this is like this. I'm not saying we should. I'm saying that this is an option.
Well,
Okay.
talking about the LCM thing, if it is as good as you say, as in it provides us with a subscriber publisher model, then in the end, that is what we should be using.
Yes.
I agree, but I think with how much work has been going into the existing system, it would be easier for the MVP if. I think the only node that doesn't follow what they're doing right now is just TM. So I'll just change my stuff to be like theirs, and then we can discuss what the appropriate setup is. Because LCM will require some thought as well. I think we can discuss that after MVP, considering it's the least amount of work, and we'll still make a flying drone.
Personally, I kind of want to switch to what you suggested with the flag. I feel like that's a lot more reliable, and I feel like that's a better way to do it than this system here. I would push for that for the MVP, partially because I think I'm probably best suited for that, for knowing SM really well, and I am probably not going to have as much time come next term. So I kind of want to get that flag implementation in early.
That makes sense.
I'm good with that. I agree with that.
I'm for it then.
I want to write this up. Yeah. Oh, I saw Anthony. Gosh.
You're just on the brick.
Yeah, I like to have a bit of fun in my own Discord server. Every once in a while, I'll just pop in, add another emoji. My most recent one that people haven't even noticed that I've added yet was the Sag emoji, but the name is just PD. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a fuck PD emoji, I think, on servers.
I think I saw that on the like NGSOC one, but I don't know. I don't know where it is. Somewhere.
And you're aware that with the flag model, you need to be like there are multiple ways of doing tally up control, and some of them still have to go through PM, right?
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's another thing. There's a lot of parsing out of different things that SN will have to figure out. But so, what should this flag be called?
Wait, 1 second. Go back. Wait. Why is PM needed for teleop flight?
So like if I fly a drone in GPS mode, it'll hold itself in the position that I leave it in if I don't touch the sticks. In that case, you're asking PM to give to AM relational or like commands on where to be flying to maintain that position, right? And then if I'm flying in GPS mode and I move the sticks, it's not a target speed or a target distance. It's basically moving a target waypoint to fly to.
Can you hover in
carrot
place with Can you hover in place with like just regular no PM flying?
Not really.
Probably not.
It will blow you around. So like
Oh, I see.
for a quadcopter, if you're talking about sort of like manual teleop control, you're flying in something called level mode, where the quad will return to being level when you come off the sticks, but it'll still be pushed around by the wind, and you could like grab the drone and move it to a different part of
I see.
wherever, and like your throttle control doesn't improve too much, right? And that doesn't need PM, and that's just AM. But if you're doing something else, it would need PM. So like as long as we're clear on when we say like teleop, it's like the modes of teleop that don't require PM.
I'm making this a read PM waypoints flag.
Okay.
I see this flag as just if PM dies, at least your drone can still
Yes.
fly, right? So this is like a worst case scenario if PM dies. There's some way to fly without PM.
Yeah.
Manual aggro.
So for a fixed for a quadcopter, it's fairly simple. It's like you either have PM or you don't when you're flying manually, right? For a fixed wing, it's slightly more complicated because there's levels of control that you can have that don't require PM. But I think for MVP, we can just say like ignore a few of those because they're sort of not necessary.
But
What are the
to design
different
for them,
levels of non-PM flying with fixed wing, though? Why
Okay,
can't we
so-
just choose one that we think is the best and then make that the default
Yeah,
for
okay.
non-PM?
Like, but like eventually you would want to add in more for fun, I guess.
Is it like just different, or are there some better than others?
It's just different.
'Cause-
Like the most basic
Interesting.
one is your input on the stick gets translated directly to a motor position on like your control surfaces. So if I move my stick to the right, my flaps go plus 30 and minus 30%, and then I roll.
Funky. Okay.
You can get things like stabilize mode where you're now targeting a bank angle on your sticks, which doesn't require PM but requires AM and sensor fusion. And then you sort of just build that up and up until you get like fully autonomous flying. Anyways, for MVP, we'll just, as long as we're clear that it's the mode where PM doesn't run, it'll be okay. We'll just pick one and run with it.
I do not think we should have multiple teleop systems for MVP.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
easy to implement.
Is it actually?
You read the raw gyro data.
Even on a block?
Yeah, you just read the raw gyro data from sensor, right?
But it's just still the same PIDs.
But it's like incredibly easy to, like, there's no sensor fusion. Yeah.
Ooh, that's dangerous. You shouldn't have told me that. That's dangerous. Oh.
No sensor fusion required.
Oh no. Oh. Build flag. Build flag moment.
'Cause, yeah, it's,
Alright.
Yeah, maybe we just have different modes of flying. Of like when more nodes fail, you just go to more and more like primitive flying.
that sounds terrible.
Yes.
It would be so fun.
Oopsie, your GPS fell out. Now you're in spiral
That's why you
mode.
always crash because user controlled. So our software didn't break, the pilot was just bad.
Yeah. Technically, ZP stays alive, but no quality of life there.
You say primal mode?
No.
ZP crashed in primal mode. It wasn't our fault.
Survival mode.
Monkey mode, bro.
Okay, I think we are on to post MVP stuff, unless anyone has anything to talk about for current MVP.
This isn't about current MVP. This is something we might want to add for post MVP. But I know that Sahil wanted AM to not take anything from AM or talk to AM at all. Is that a design we should consider for post MVP?
I do not like that, because if PM has to go back through SM to AM, that will guarantee induce latency and then mess with the control systems.
I say we go in the
And I
opposite
will-
direction. We have it. If we're on the post MVP stuff, if we use the channels thing, then every node can just subscribe to the data they care about, and then publish the data that they need to send, and then the whole system should just communicate without everything flowing through system, but system can still read everything it can
That's
still like
correct,
look at all
yeah.
the data. It just doesn't need to be the one doing all the routing.
Yeah. I guess that's the
And-
whole reason of having the whole publisher subscriber is that it's super scalable.
Yeah, and not only does it I think it would reduce latency, but it's
It
still
would,
like
yes.
yeah, but it's like all the nodes are now more interconnected, but still very separate in that you can just like hot swap nodes out as long as they're still publishing to the same channels.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think it
I've
fixes
worked
what Sahil was concerned about.
I've worked with MQTT, which is very similar to like this in ROS, and it's really nice because you can just specify which topic you want to listen to, which topic you publish to, and it just everything doesn't care about what everything else is doing. It can just care about specific topics and move on.
MQTT. Okay, I will. Can you add it to the doc, and I'll consider it. We can have like a whole meeting of this, right? And we'll just consider
Don't
different
do
options.
MQTT. Don't. It's bad.
Don't
for
do it?
like
Okay.
larger scale or fast things. I had to do so many sketchy things to make it work in real time.
I mean, I'm already doing sketchy things to make LCM work.
LCM is the same as MQTT, but probably better implemented. If that makes sense.
Yes.
If you want to reference MQTT, go for it. There's decent documentation, but I'd lean away from it.
Okay. Yeah, there's some work that has to be done on LCM. I have to figure out if I can modify LCM directly or just do some hacky shit to make it, because the lack of UINT support is not a good thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've got a workaround for that now, but I don't know if it'll scale. Like it might be easier to just just fork LCM and add in our types if it's easy enough to do.
Okay. I will leave that for post MVP stuff. I really like LCM. I think that's going to be great. I am looking forward to seeing that. So, what else do we have for post MVP stuff? Is an interesting one that I should bring up my other documentation on because I have a page for that. So I have talked about intercommunication. So that's LCM. Discuss sending RC through PM. We've talked about that. And then another one is pre-fight and post-fight.
Did you just hear fight?
I did.
Alright, I don't.
Just keep the door closed and pretend it didn't happen.
Somebody hear which?
No, someone outside just yelled, fight! And we heard like a slapping noise.
Oh, okay. That
It'll be fine.
seems normal.
Sounds like a meme.
Least weird Waterloo experience.
Okay. I think with that, we've got this. Are there any other action items that people have or any other post MVP topics that people want listed here?
It would be nice if we could get sort of like a rollout timeline, so like when we expect things to come in and be ready. But that doesn't have to be today. It probably shouldn't be today.
That could be added to the MVP status page.
Table.
Yeah,
Yep.
perhaps even better than an expected rollout is incremental deadlines for each component.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that,
That's why I like when it's kind of broken up into different things.
yeah, pieces that are dependent on other pieces, we have deadlines for them with those dependencies in mind.
Or just like a
The other thing is I am
for our software. Yeah.
going to... Cool.
I hate labs.
Okay. I'm going to quickly update my diagram here with that flag. No changes there. But beyond that, I think we are good for this meeting. I hope it was helpful. It was for me.
Extremely.
Great. Then I'm going to not hit publish yet, but I'm going to say you are free. Enjoy what time you have left. Touch grass.
Cut grass. Be happy. Don't suffer too much.
Gotta say, I have not been outside in like 2.5 days.
That seems healthy. Not trying to call you out, but that sounds, like.
Oh.
Like, at that point, I worry.
Actually, wait.
Go outside, or you're gonna die from the air touching your skin.
No. I will say, I was gonna go climbing today. I did not get to that. I will be out tomorrow though and stuff. So don't worry about me. It's my job to worry about you.
All right.
All right.
For showing
I'm
up.
going to say
You'll
good night.
I will stop the stream. I'll post a link to it later.